Welcome back to Your Average Witch, where every other Tuesday we talk about witch life, witch stories, and sometimes a little witchcraft. This week I'm talking with that witch Karena, an empowerment and transformation coach who also happens to read tarot and do witchcraft. We talked about loss, coping with grief, and community. Before we get started, I want to ask a favor of you. I'm asking you to go to the People's Choice Podcast Awards and nominate Your Average Witch podcast in the People's Choice and Religious and Spirituality categories. Getting this recognition would really help me grow the show. The more I can promote the show, the more interesting guests I can get to come on the show to entertain you. The link will be in show notes. I deeply appreciate all your support and help that you show me every day. Now let's get to the stories. Karena, hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. Can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do and where they can find you?
Absolutely. So I am that witch Karena, but most folks just call me Karena. I am an empowerment and transformation coach who offers one-to-one coaching through Become the Witch. That's my program. In it, I do tarot. We do some like NLP stuff. I also offer classes. So I offer Awaken Your Inner Witch and Circles Rooted in Sisterhood, and I teach tarot. And all of my offerings are centered around kind of awakening yourself to the shadow side of who you are so that you can fully integrate everything that you are. And people can find me on Instagram. That's usually where I mostly hang out at That Witch Karena. And then on on Facebook, I am That Witch Karena at The Witches Inn. And you can find me on my website at thewitchesinn.com.
So you go into the stuff that I'm trying to avoid. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. You know what? So I'm a Scorpio sun, Taurus moon, Gemini rising.
Ooh.
And so I'm like built for this. This is this is my jam.
I'm Taurus sun, Aries moon, Gemini rising.
Oh, very cool. I love that.
So according to the two things I read, Taurus and Scorpio do well together. So that's fun.
Yeah, we're sister signs.
So when you say that you're a witch, what does that mean? What does the word witch mean to you?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for me, the word witch is basically someone who does not subscribe to patriarchy. I try very hard to examine my own internalized misogyny, because we all have internalized misogyny, and work outside of the realm of what would be deemed normal in society. So for instance, I believe in things like harm reduction. I believe that sex workers should have unions and that they should be seen as actually working class people, because they are. I'm a big believer in the shadow aspects in life. And so having boundaries, allowing people to express their boundaries. And with that, which also accompanies some spell work, some divination, and the ability to see the duality because of life, because that's what alchemy is, right? Turning something into something else, turning raw material into gold. That's what it used to be, right? Or something that was more precious. And so basically that's how I would describe witch, right? Turning me, raw material, into something that is bright and shiny, that allows for everything to just be encompassed.
I like that. Also, fuck the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Let me just throw that out there.
Yeah.
So, can you introduce us to your practice? Do you have any sort of daily thing that you do,
Yeah.
or
So
consistent? Maybe not daily.
no, I do try and make it daily, right? Because I do believe that like consistency is key in especially like showing up for self, which is what I teach people how to do, right? Come back into center of self so that you can actually be a community member. Because I think that there's a big disconnect between that, right? Like we're taught a lot to be a good community member, but that means self-abandoning. And so routine is really important. And I like to call routines rituals because that's what part of becoming the witch is ritualizing your life. So every day, I wake up and I make myself a coffee. And in my coffee, I stir in my intention for the day. So whatever affirmation I am working with at that time. And currently, I am working through a shadow of, well, I'm always working through a shadow of worthiness. Let's be honest. The patriarchy keeps us in that place of unworthiness, but going a little bit deeper in it. And so this place where my affirmation right now is I am a powerful practitioner who gets paid for my work and who makes a difference. So I stir that into my coffee in the morning. I take my first sip and really make sure to like observe the sip, to be in the moment with the sip, to feel how that feels in my body. Does it give me the life that I'm hoping it will give me? Sometimes not. And then I usually sit down and do a little bit of journaling. Sometimes I pull tarot. I haven't been doing a lot of tarot this year. I think for me, it's this place where I I'm really kind of realizing that like I'm the oracle. And so I will turn to tarot if I need a little bit more. But where like if we were talking a year ago, I'd have been like, oh yeah, I like see how my day's going to be with tarot. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not where I am anymore. And then I will usually watch something on YouTube that's spiritual related, like for a half hour or so. Do a little bit of yoga, maybe while I'm watching it or after. It depends on kind of how I want to get my day started. And then I jump into work, sending emails, doing what I need to do. And my day kind of flows like that afterwards. So family, friends, work, it all kind of gets intermingled. Being a small business owner, I have the privilege of time that I get to utilize at my own pace. So that's how I ritualize my day.
It's nice to be able to set your own schedule. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is the biggest motivator in your practice? And can you contrast it with your biggest struggle?
Mm-hmm. So my biggest motivator is helping people through grief. As a millennial, I think our generation has been compounded with a lot of grief. And I myself have experienced grief from a very young age. I lost all of my grandparents by the time I was 16. My parents divorced when I was 10. And by the time I was 32, I had lost both my parents as well. On top of that, a pandemic. We can talk about 9/11. We can talk about all these things that like we rapidly seen our world change drastically as millennials. And I'm not discounting anything of the generations above mine, but it was a lot of us seen a lot of very quick movement at a very young age. As well, the rise of late stage capitalism really took over, right? And when something is dying, we are literally in the death of capitalism. It brings out the
Let's
worst.
hope.
If you've ever sat, yeah, if you've ever sat with someone who is dying, you'll see the rally, right? So it's that moment where it's like maybe a week before their death, all of a sudden it appears that they're doing really, really well. And then they drift and they start
Yep.
reaching, right? So for me, that is my biggest motivator is because I don't think that as this late stage capitalism started to take over, we lost a lot of our grief rituals. We lost a lot of time to grief. People were like, get over it. Let's go. Capitalism needs us. Let's go, 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 get up back on that machine. And so again, with the privilege and loss of my parents, this is where I built my business, right in the middle of it. And it was because I received a small inheritance. And so I had the opportunity to really be like, okay, what do I want to do with my life? How do I want to build my life? And so I decided to take that money, allow myself rest, because rest is resistance. And it's a big form of witchcraft. And I decided to start working with
Can
people.
you say that again so I can use it for a soundbite, but also so people can hear it again?
Yeah. Rest is resistance.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And so what I was finding, right? I started my business just as tarot. Like, and again, nothing wrong with tarot. I love tarot. Tarot is my baby. We have a really, really great relationship. But the more and more I sat with people, the more and more I realized, oh, honey, you're grieving. Like, this is deep grief locked inside your body. And so I started coaching. And when I teach people about witchcraft, it really is about those shadow aspects that like grief and patriarchy like want us to hold and claim as shame and guilt, because that's what grief can show up as in the body, is shame and guilt and anger. And then allow that to transform, to transmute. So we're not trying to escape it anymore. We're actually inviting it in and realizing that it's quite beautiful. And again, just like rest is resilience and resistance, so is joy. And so we can bring grief into a place of joy. I am grieving because I loved, and I loved hard. And there is nothing wrong with that. And so my grief deserves time and space. And I can feel sadness with that, but I can also feel joy with that. And that's really the basis of my practice and what I bring to people.
That hurts my feelings a little bit. Why are you making me feel feelings right now?
Because I'm a Scorpio, baby. That's what we do.
Ow. Wait, what about your struggle?
My struggle. Yeah. So my struggle has been grief. That really has been my struggle, is ultimately the abandonment that comes with grief. I mean, let's be honest, right? Like, it fucking sucks to lose someone. And as much as I can understand that everything has a time, place, an ending, beginning and ending, that doesn't negate the very real abandonment that also comes with grief. And, that's something over the last year. I've had many struggles, obviously, but that's something over the last year that I've really been reconciling with, is this idea that like, oh, I'm actually kind of fucking pissed off that my parents died and left me by the time I was 32. And that like, I'm the oldest on my, like in my line. I'm the oldest daughter. I have to now like basically carry all this fucking bullshit, be the story keeper, kind of enter into my crone era way before I wanted to enter in my crone era. And it always has kind of felt like I have had to abandon these like younger versions of self for grief in some way, shape, or form. And so abandonment has been my biggest struggle. And that's why I teach self, like coming back into center of self, so that although, yes, things are going to abandon me in my life, it's just the natural order of things, I no longer have to abandon myself when those things happen.
I tend to tantrum at some point. I will tantrum about it. So that's enjoyable. Okay, after that exciting moment, what is your favorite tool in your practice? And it doesn't have to be like a physical thing. It doesn't have to be a physical thing you can hold. It can be like an emotion or a song or a scientific theory. What do you like to, what is your favorite thing to use?
So, okay. Wow. I love that how you worded that, because my immediate thought was like, oh, tarot. But the way that you were like, well, it doesn't have to be like an actual like divination tool. I love the way that you think outside the box with this, because I would have to say it's psychology, sociology and psychology. That's how I got started. Like I was getting my master's in gender studies and sociology, and I love like nature versus nurture. I just, people fascinate me. Behavior fascinates me. Like, what do you mean twins can grow up in the exact same house and live completely different lives, especially if they have like the same DNA and parents? Like, what does that, what do you mean? Like, so I would have to say like the mix of psychology and sociology, nature, nurture, that is my favorite tool.
How do you use it in your practice?
So how I use it in my practice is sociology. We talk a lot about, who you are in the grand scheme of your community, right? That community member piece. And then psychology, the place where it's like, how do you want to interact with that community? How do you want to be in that? Right? What are the expectations that you felt from your socialization, and what do you actually want to be in that? And again, it's that place of patriarchy and the witch, right? The witch was burned, or women were burned, because they had thoughts that didn't go into hive-like mentality. They held property, they held wisdom. And so it's this place where it's like, how can I help you realize that you can be a sovereign, autonomous person while also being part of that community, and that disruptors are needed in order to build good community, because it allows for innovation. So that's how I kind of use it in my practice, is that I get the people that I'm sitting with to kind of become the observer, so that they can actually see like how they interact and how they want to interact with people, places, and themselves.
I like the idea of taking on the mantle of disruptor. I like that a lot. Because don't tell me what to do.
Yeah. Yes.
What's something you wish was discussed more in the magical community?
I think with the rise of witchcraft and TikTok, it is really sold. Witchcraft is really sold as like spells. And that's not what it is. I mean, it's part of it. Like, it's absolutely part of it.
It's not all it is.
No, it's not all of it. And it makes it very Hollywood. And really, witchcraft is the aspect of ritualizing your life, of seeing your life as being sacred, of being in this place of like, this is who I am, and I'm okay with it. And I'm not just okay with it, I actually love it. And like, I don't need you to like me in order for me to like me.
You're hurting patriarchy's feelings right now.
100, right? And so I think that like spell work is the manifestation or the tangible representation of like our inside feelings externally. It's an opportunity to reclaim power through the tangible. And I wish that more people discussed it in that way, right? Because like I don't do this but like I'm not against it either, right? If someone's like, I want to hex my ex, like, yeah, go ahead, hex your ex, but realize it's you trying to alchemize your anger, your pain externally. You no longer want to hold that in your body. And so you're finding a way to output that. And like that can absolutely create results in the very real world, but understanding that like it's because you don't want to hold that is why you're doing that. For me, you can like other people might have different opinions on that, which I absolutely welcome, but that's my understanding of like when I'm doing spells, when I'm teaching spell work, that's how I teach it. This is the tangible representation of your inside feelings externally. Period.
That's cool. That's cool. I like new viewpoints.
Thank you.
That's cool. I have never considered it that way. I don't know that I've considered it at all, so that's cool. Have you taken steps to develop a community near you? And if you have, do you have any resources that you can share, or do you have whatever you have built? Can you share that as a resource?
Mm-hmm. So for me, having lost a lot of folks during COVID, not due to COVID, just I had a lot of people pass away at that time. Yeah. My community was like pretty eradicated, but also I isolated myself quite a bit. And so a lot of my community is actually online. And so when I'm doing offerings through my work, and I mean, it was COVID, right? Like the pandemic forced us to go online. So, my communities are online. And the one that I have right now that I am promoting, and that's a staple, is called Rooted in Sisterhood. And so it is for socialized women who are looking to reclaim their power. We meet seasonally. And so my next round is June 22nd. And we are going to be specifically speaking about summer because it's the summer solstice, the energy of the mother, because that is what summer is all about: mothering, nurturing, creating sustainability, growth. And then also how we relate to the mother, regardless if we are mothers or not. Majority of the women that are in my community are not mothers, or they have older children. But in saying that, I'm actually in transition in my life right now. And so I'm moving from one city back to my hometown. And it's amazing what I am realizing of how much community I actually have outside of my online space. And so if you are in the Southern Ontario region, I am in Hamilton currently, and I'm moving back to Niagara. So I'm moving to Thorold or around St. Catharines, Niagara Falls. And over the course of the next couple months, I will be offering more things in person just because I'll have the ability to do that. However, if you are in that area and you are looking for supports around leaving like domestic violence, or you're experiencing or coming close to homelessness, I do have a lot of resources with regards to outreach. Because I used to work in the social service field. And so I do invite people to like drop into my DMs, and I can direct them maybe to a place that offers the support that they would need. That would not be coming from me, but I can offer them the resources like that they might want to look into if they're at a loss for where to begin.
That's nice. I like that. Yay. Do you have like a list on your website?
I don't have a list on my website.
Well, you're
No.
moving,
But
so.
that's a good idea. I probably should put a list on my website. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
So I would like you to think about your 3 biggest influences, whether it's people or a pet or a book you read once, and thank them for the influence that they have had on your practice.
Okay. Well, my first influence, you're going to make me cry here, is definitely like my ancestors. Um, Good or bad, the experiences that I had with them have taught me so much about who I am and who I want to be. And so, you know, although, for instance, like my mother and I had a very complicated relationship, I can definitely at this point in my life see that like it was very much needed and it allowed me to be who I am today. My father within my ancestry taught me a lot about nurturing, and that I really needed that in my life. And so he is definitely like a huge influence. But then also just like my grandparents and like my friends who have passed away, like all these people are extremely special to me and like have and continue to influence me when I craft and and how I live my life. The second would be Dr. Maya Angelou. I remember watching her on Oprah when I was like young, like I would probably say about 10 years old, 10 or 11 years old. And I remember just listening to her and being like, yes, that's what it means to be human. Um, she has this very famous quote that's like, nothing human to me is foreign because I am human. And so if I see another human doing something, if I ask myself how, like I would never do that, I know that I'm not being truthful because I am human. And so that ability lives within me. I just haven't lived the circumstances in order to get me to where they are. And that just like, it's stuck with me. And it's something that I revisit often. And I think it allows me to be in a place that allows me to have empathy, but also allows me to have boundaries within that empathy. And so Dr. Maya Angelou is a huge, huge influence for me. And then I will say my pet, my beautiful Cordelia. She is my cat. I've had her we've been together for like 10 years. And oddly enough, I had gotten her as a gift for a previous boyfriend of mine. And we just like bonded. Like it was never his cat. It was always my cat. And she has really, really taught me the ability to just like love without condition. And I'm not saying that that's like a trait that we should all have at all times, but I think unconditional love comes with reciprocity. And our relationship definitely has the reciprocity that is needed for that unconditional love, like that actually bonds people instead of being like, yeah, it's time to go, even in love. Right. And so my beautiful cat who just helps me with my magical workings and reminds me of my humanness, probably weekly.
I always think it's funny when we think we're getting pets for either ourselves or someone else, but they're like, no, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the dog that I was sad about, I mean, I still am, was supposed to be my dog.
Yeah.
It happened with that dog and a kitten who is
Aw.
definitely his. Both of them were like, you're all right, I guess.
Yeah.
They like
If I
me
have
when I
to
have
have
food.
you, yeah. Sure. But I prefer, yeah.
Yeah. They're ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you've seen what it's like to talk with me, and you've seen the questions, who do you think would be an interesting guest for me to have on the show?
I definitely think you should reach out to Emily of Wise Woman Witchery, or I can connect you to.
Wait, I
Um,
think am I stupid? I think I have had her on the show.
oh, have you? Okay, yeah. So her podcast is The Witch Next Door.
Oh my
But her
God. Maybe
business is
that's why,
Wise
because
Woman
Wise,
Witchery.
that's what I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
She
All
has
right.
been
So
a
you
guest.
definitely have had her. Beautiful. Okay. So other folks that I think would be a great fit for your podcast. I have a few new up and coming tarot readers that I think would really maybe benefit from kind of being visible a little bit more. And one thing I really love about podcast, like being on podcasts, like especially like your questions are so thought provoking, is that it helps people kind of define who they are a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I didn't really realize that that's what I was doing in my practice, or that's who I am in my practice, right? So I definitely Beyond the Purple Door. She's one of my students. Her name
That's a
is
good name.
Michelle. So I will definitely reach out between the two of you to connect for
Awesome.
sure. Yeah.
That is very true. Just about every interview I do is like there's some sort of realization.
Mm-hmm. It's beautiful,
Okay,
right?
You go.
I was just going to say it's beautiful, like, getting the opportunity to become visible, like through opportunities like this. It really does lead like to internal realization, like you as the host maybe having realizations. Yeah, but then like the people listening as well, and I think it's needed.
That is
It's great.
actually what it's for. I
Mm-hmm.
want people to feel like, oh, I am, even if I don't want to accept the term normal, I'm not the only one who feels like this or is doing this.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything I didn't ask? Anything that is happening with you? Or did you have any questions for me?
Mm-hmm. So definitely I'm just gonna like circle back to my rooted in sisterhood and really welcome people into that space. Um it's something that I really enjoy doing because it does allow people this opportunity to witness themselves, to witness others. But just as you had just said, right? Be in this place where it's like, oh, I'm not in this alone. Like there are other people experiencing what I am experiencing, maybe just in a different way. And then from there, my main offering is coaching Become the Witch. And this really is an opportunity for you to sit with someone who is not there to judge you, but someone who is there to be this like gentle mirror that is like, yeah, you're doing a great job. And like, where do you want to go from here? Or maybe you want to stay here, right? To really come into acceptance of self rather than this idea of like fixing. That's not what my coaching is about. It's not about fixing, it's about accepting. And from that space, if things grow, which they always naturally do when we accept, that like allowing that. So that's, really what I would love to just share here. Um, People can find me, of course, on that witch Karena on Instagram. um, and I don't really have any questions for you, but what I would really like to say is like, thank you for allowing this space for people to come on, for that space of I think there's so much that can be said, even just in your name, the title, The Average Witch. Because I think for people to come into this place of like claiming themselves as witch, they think they need to be like extraordinary in some way, shape, or form. But like, you are magical simply because you are, period. That's it. And like, there needs to be more emphasis on the averageness of life because, like, the mundane is magical. But, like, Hollywood, the government, like, patriarchy is trying to sell us something that tells us that we need to be something that we aren't. And so, offering this space, it's truly beautiful because it really does, again, create that gentle mirror that says, like, you are amazing. You are magical. You are full of witching just because you are. And so, thank you so much, Kim, honestly, for having me here and giving me this opportunity to speak. It truly is a pleasure.
Thank you for that. That's so kind. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So the last two things. Thing number one is please recommend something to the listeners. It doesn't have to be magical or witchy or whatever. Whatever your cool thing you found this week that you're like, hey, you got to try this thing to whoever you're on the phone with, if you do phones, or whoever you're texting or Marco Polo, whatever. Whatever you would recommend to your best friend right now, recommend it to the listeners.
Okay, so I am going to recommend that, like, you go outside and scream. like just like shout out at the world. Like, just, yeah, scream, let it out. Like, do it where it maybe in your car, maybe wherever, but like, don't do it in your house. Like, go outside where like maybe someone could see you doing it and be like, that bitch is crazy, and just be like, yeah, I'm fucking crazy. Like, that's my recommendation. Go outside and scream.
That is fun. It wouldn't really affect my neighbors because they're kind of far away, and also I live out in BFE and they're used to weird things happening. But if you do this, whoever's listening or watching, and something funny happens, please come tell us about it.
Yeah, I'd love that. My neighbors are also very used to me. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, my neighbors are very used to me just like screaming and yelling outside at the sky because I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like,
that reminds me of a line from, I think it might be next Friday or Friday after next. They're like, crazy bitches out is at it again.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I am. We're still here.
Yep.
So the last thing is, please tell me a story. It can be a story from your life, like the kind where you meet up with old friends or like cousins or something. You're like, remember that time? Whatever. And everybody laughs and also participates in telling the story because everybody knows it. Or a story that you remember from childhood that you just really enjoyed.
Okay. So I used to have a story on my website, but I took it down a long time ago. So I'll tell that story. When I was very young, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. So my father was a truck driver and my mother was going to college as well as like working basically full time. So I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, but more often than not, like my grandmother. And where I lived, we lived in an apartment building, but behind the apartment building, there was like a creek, like a ravine. And my grandmother is probably the first person who ever really shared stories about like magic and wonder and fairies and being curious. And being the Scorpio baby that I am, and probably ADHD in some way, shape, or form, I completely, and still do, believed in fairies. And I mean, TV had fairies and stuff. So why wouldn't it be real? You know what I mean? And so we used to go down to the creek, and she would kind of like let me wander within reason. And this is maybe where I got like just talking out loud all the time, like when I was outside. But I would talk to the fairies, and I would talk to the gnomes, and I would talk to like the gremlins or whoever I thought was there. And she would give me like coins or like little hard candies or something like that to leave as offerings for them. And so I would go down, and, I would see like light kind of like trickling through the leaves into the small creek bed. And I would be like, oh, that's like fairy magic, like getting lit up, and, like they're dancing across the water. And I would leave my offerings there and probably say wishes, or being the little empathic person that I was, probably asking them to like just be well. Don't mind about me. You mind about you. You make sure you're doing well. You make sure you stay hidden. So, no one finds you and captures you. Like, I'll make sure that you're safe. And of course, every time I would come back, like the dimes or the quarters would be gone, or the hard candies would be gone. I mean, adult me now knows that like crows and stuff like that were probably picking it up and whatever. But to me, it was just this very big confirmation that, like, yes, they are taking my offerings, they are hearing me, and that this is like very, very real. And so, yeah, I would have many a conversation with my grandma about fairies and brownies and gnomes and gremlins and all that kind of stuff. And just asking her constantly, like, can we ask the fairies to help us with this? Would that be too much? Am I asking too much? Or, let's leave some stuff out for brownies. And so I am not someone that subscribes to the fact that like fairies are mischievous and you shouldn't invite them in. I think that fairies are everywhere anyways. And as long as you are reciprocal with them and like mindful that they are also sovereign beings, that they will help you. And so to this day, I have a fairy garden in my backyard, and I still leave them, which I know now they really prefer milk and honey. So I leave them milk and honey every couple days, or at least on the new moon and full moon. So that's my story.
That is so sweet. That is so sweet. Do you think your grandma believed?
I do. I think my grandma, so I'm second generation coming from England on my mom's side. And so my grandmother was born in the United States. She came over, like my great grandmother was pregnant. But I came from, on all sides of my family, like farmers. And so farmers really had to have this like reciprocal like understanding and relationship with the land. And a lot of these old tales really, like, they held truth because there were these signs, like every time I came back, right? Like, and I'm using me as an example, but like every time I came back, like the coin would be gone, something would be gone, or a wish would be granted, right? Like crops would grow well after giving an offering, or it would rain, or something would happen. And so I do think that she believed, but I also believe that she was very similar to me in the aspect that, like, this was probably a physical representation of an inside emotion that, was put externally, and then like the universe picked it up and took it and like did something with it. So I do believe in fairies. I do believe in brownies. Like, I think that there are like cryptics that like we don't necessarily see and stuff. But yeah, I think she believed. If you got her on the right day, she would probably tell you yes. On the wrong day, she'd probably be like, "No, it's all bullshit."
That's so cool. Will you craft a spell with me?
Sure. Yeah. What would you like to do?
I don't know. We have to figure out intention. Peace
Oh.
or self-worth?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Peace coming in or peace going out or
Sure.
house protection. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I love doing like home spells, because I feel like the home is an energetic, representation of who we are. So I think that'd be super cool. I'm actually moving this month, so I would love to do a home spell, maybe like a transitional home
Oh,
spell. That would be cool. Yeah.
oh, that's a challenge. I don't know. Okay. Because I could immediately come up with good correspondences for leaving or a new place, but transition. Oh, okay. I'm kind of a dirt witch. I just wander around and pick things up outside or in my studio. My studio is also my witch room. I have stuff everywhere.
Nice.
So I tend to just
Same.
wander through and pick things up, and I'm like, oh, this would be good for whatever. Huh. Transition though. Okay, I have some cicada shells. That's
Ooh.
more transformation, but it's still transitioning. So I would use
Mhm.
that. That's one thing I would
Okay.
use. What would you do? How do you do yours?
So I really like working with fire, even though I'm like a water baby. So like my immediate thought is kind of like working with two candles and like setting them side by side. And when you said dirt, kind of like maybe creating like a road, like from one candle to the next with like some dirt.
From
Um,
both places or from like meet them in the middle?
Ooh, yeah, okay. Like one from one place, one from the other. Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Or I don't know
Um,
where would you put the dirt? That's what I would do.
yeah. Like I love that. That's a great idea. Like because I do have access to both places, so I could definitely like pick from one place to the other. If not, like if someone else is moving and they're wanting to do this spell, what I would say is like go to your most favorite spot that and like collect dirt from your most favorite spot so that it's like harmonious and it feels really good for who you are and like the transition you're trying to create. That's what I would say other than that.
Do you use herbs and stuff?
I do. So I would probably use like catnip. I really like using catnip because it's really good. So I don't know if folks know this, but catnip is really good for like menstruation, like menstrual cramps and stuff like that. And like when I think about moving, I think about kind of like entering the birth canal as well, right? And so this place where it kind of like allows
Didn't
some
expect
like
that.
easy transition. What?
I did not expect that.
Oh, I really, I like to relate things back to the human body and the human experience. Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. So but it's also very good for clarity. It opens your third eye, and so it can
Oh,
help. Yeah, yeah. So you can drink catnip like tea. You can do that.
yeah. Doesn't it also
So I
have
would
like
probably
a
use.
calming aspect?
Yeah, yeah. So it would definitely like again like just like I mean when you're transitioning, right? Like it's like cramping, it's like gross. Like there's like moving day no matter like how easy you've like put things together. There's always going to be like one fight, right? And so like catnip just to like maybe like get you clarity and like relieve those cramps a bit. um
Yes,
I also
I would throw in chamomile for the same reason.
okay,
Just
perfect.
because
I love it.
my everything explodes when we're moving.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Maybe a mustard seed. I like working with mustard seeds a lot too, because it's like such a small seed, but it grows like such a strong root system. And so mustard seed as well. And like you, I would also probably put a hornet in the spell along the road.
To hear more of the members-only episode, head over to crepuscularconjuration.com. The monthly magic tier will give you access to the monthly Magic Marco Polo group, the private Facebook group, and access to the written monthly spells. There's also Crepuscular Conjurations, giving you bonus podcast episodes, coloring pages, guided meditations, spellcrafting videos, printable downloads, and a lot more. The free Witchy Wonderment level will give you a little sample of everything I just mentioned. You can also visit my shop, Clever Kim's Curios, to get spell boxes one at a time or by monthly subscription, intentional handcrafted jewelry that I make especially for witches, and handmade altar tools. You can even listen to the full Your Average Witch podcast library, including show notes and transcripts. Check it out at crepuscularconjuration.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Average Witch. You can find us all around the internet on Instagram at Your Average Witch Podcast, facebook.com/groups/hivehouse, at www.youraveragewitch.com, and at your favorite podcast service. If you'd like to recommend someone for the podcast, like to be on it yourself, or if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, send an email to youraveragewitchpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.